Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to break down a really powerful guide for handling those tough classroom moments. You know, the ones that feel like they're about to spiral out of control. And the best part? We're focusing on strategies you can use, like, right away.
All right, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll get into why crises don't just pop up out of nowhere. Then we'll look at how to step in early at stage 1. After that, we'll cover what to do when things heat up in stage 2. And we'll wrap it all up with the one golden rule that honestly holds this whole thing together.
Okay, first things first. We have to get our heads around the big idea here. Seriously, once you grasp this one concept, it's going to completely change how you see and handle those classroom blow-ups.
And here it is. Big disruptions? They're not random. They're not just chaos out of the blue. Nope. They're actually the end of a process, a predictable process. And that means if we're paying attention, we can totally interrupt it.
I love this analogy. Think of it like a fire, right? It's way easier to stamp out a little spark than it is to fight a full-blown inferno. And that's exactly what this is about. Catching those first warning signs gives you a massive advantage. It's your best shot at calming things down before they really get going.
So let's talk about those sparks. We're moving into stage 1, where it all begins. This is all about learning to spot the very first signs that something's off.
Okay, look at this list. What's so interesting here is that it's not always what you'd expect. It's not just about a kid acting out. Sometimes it's the total opposite, you know? Like a student who's usually super chatty suddenly going quiet and withdrawn, or just refusing to take their coat off. These are those little subtle clues that something's simmering under the surface.
And this is why being vigilant is so key. You gotta know your students' normal, their baseline, so you can spot when things are a little off. This isn't about being a mind reader, not at all. It's just about being a really good observer. But okay, here's the tricky part, isn't it? You see the signs, but now what? How do you actually find out what's wrong without making it a million times worse? Because we all know that nagging or pushing a kid who's already upset for answers, that's just going to backfire. It's like pouring gasoline on the fire. So, what do you do instead?
Well, get this. The source we're looking at has this thing called the magic script. And it's brilliant because it's so simple. The whole point is to show the student that you're just there to help, not to judge, not to punish. It just kind of takes the threat out of the situation and, boom, opens the door for them to actually talk.
So step 1 is super simple. You just get their attention, say their name, and state what you see. David, I can see that something is wrong. See? No accusation there. It just validates what they're feeling. You're basically saying, hey, I see you. I can tell you're having a hard time. It's a world away from what's wrong with you. And then comes the key part. You just offer support. Talk to me, tell me what's wrong, and I'll listen. You're not demanding anything. You're just offering to listen. And the real magic, it's in repeating that offer gently. You just become this calm, safe person who's ready to listen whenever they're ready to talk. No pressure.
And really, that's all there is to it. It sounds almost too simple, right? But it works like magic. The student gets the attention they need, but in a positive way. And it gives them a safe space to get those feelings out. It really boils down to this. Connect first, then correct.
Okay, but what if you miss those early signs? Or what if the trigger is just too big and things escalate anyway? That brings us to stage 2. And yeah, this is where things get a lot tougher. Our game plan has to be way more strategic now.
This chart really shows the difference, doesn't it? Stage 1, all that distress is kind of bottled up inside. You see the crossed arms, the quiet sulking. But in stage 2, whoosh, it all comes spilling out. We're talking shouting, aggressive body language, maybe even throwing stuff. That spark we talked about, it's now a flame.
So at this point, let's be real. Your own heart is probably pounding. Your own fight or flight is kicking in. But you absolutely cannot get into an argument or lay down the law. That just makes you the target and adds a ton of fuel to the fire. Basically, you're just confirming to their brain that, yep, this is a dangerous situation, and the rational thinking just shuts down. The goal here is not to win, it's to bring the temperature down.
Which brings us to a super important tactic, giving limited choices. Think about it. When a kid feels like everything is spinning out of control, barking orders at them just makes them feel even more powerless. But if you give them a choice, even a really small one, it hands a little bit of control back to them, and that can be a huge relief. It's like giving them a steering wheel when they feel like they're just a passenger in a crash.
And look at how this example is worded. It's so calm, totally neutral, there's no emotion in it. You're just saying, hey, you can sit here until you feel better, or You can take a couple minutes outside. What do you want to do? The key is that both options are good ones. They both lead to a better place. And most importantly, the choice is theirs. The power is back in their hands.
All right, we're at our final point. And this is the golden rule. It's the foundation that everything else we've talked about is built on. Without this mindset, none of the other tactics will really work.
And here's why it's so important. If your approach is all about punishment, you're asking, how do I make this stop? But if your approach is about support, you're asking a totally different question. What does the student need right now to get back in control? See the difference? One adds pressure, the other takes it away. And when it comes to de-escalation, taking the pressure off is always, always the way to go.
Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway from behavior expert Rob Long. You can't fight fire with fire. It's that simple. If you meet aggression with more aggression, you're just going to get a bigger fire. But if you meet it with calm, with support, with a smart strategy, you can actually put it out. So I guess the question to leave you with is, when things get heated, are you going to be the firefighter or are you going to be the